we now understand that we can achieve a good form read, a good 3D read with just light and shadow, right? And having those things read clearly. But the key question is, where do you put those shadows, right? Where do you put them? And the answer lies in planes and learning the planes of the human form. I have these three heads here as an example. So the first head here on the left-hand side really is kind of just a very basic model of the head. And it's filled with mountains and valleys of complexity. So if we go to head 2, the actual planes, and the planes really are just the different sides of things, is quite complex. So if I start drawing planes here, I would imagine they would do something like this. It would go in and then around the eyeball, down, around the cheek, down in here and around. And you can start to see that, wow, there are like seriously a large number of planes, and they change. For example, here, if we go over the lip, the planes start changing, and we can grid them out, right? So we can kind of get a grid view of all the different planes and the angles that they are facing. Now, light travels in straight lines, and we're going to actually look at that in the next lesson. But we want to understand that obviously different objects have different sides, right? A 3D object has multiple sides, and light is going to hit some sides and not hit the others. So we need to know the sides. And as you can see, planes are fairly complex. So how the heck do you learn them? The answer really is that we'll see number 3 here, is we want to study simplified versions of the planes. So for example, if you can imagine on head number 2 here, we'd have like planes on the nose like this, and then the underneath planes here, and there would just be so many planes of how the cheeks go, and then the planes go in there and then around the eye and then out like that. It's just really complex. There's so many of them, thousands of them, millions of them even, right? We need to simplify. And so a simplified version of the planes would be something like this, where we say, all right, what if we make this whole section of the forehead here just one plane, this just one plane, this one just one plane here. We have one plane going in toward the eyes, right? One rounded plane for the eyeballs because they're circular. Another plane coming out below the eyes, all right? Plane here for the cheeks, plane here for those cheeks, etc., etc. And we split the nose into just 2 planes, a bottom plane and a top plane here, and we can actually even put in a side plane that comes down like that. And you can see we start to understand how we can get the general shadows in a general way. And as we're learning the planes more in depth, we can start bringing the level of detail up if we're going for a very realistic style of coloring or painting. Now, of course, when you talk about those types of stylings, things scale. Sometimes you just want very simple coloring, and that's fine. Sometimes you want more advanced coloring, and that's fine. But I'm teaching you to be a professional, and that means you know how to do everything from the most complex thing all the way down to the most simple thing. Right, going back to planes, planes are critical. And how you learn the planes is you find models of simple facial planes. You look for reference images of simple facial planes. Now, usually these come in the forms of sculptures. So an artist would actually make a simplified planes structure sculpture of the head. Now, I can't show you those because pretty much all of them are copyrighted images, and I don't personally sculpt, so I don't have one of those heads. But nevertheless, a simple Google search, planes of the face, planes of the human body, will give you millions of results that you can study and reference from. And believe me when I say this, you want to go in depth in terms of your understanding of the planes. You want to do a lot of planes studies and really get a feel for the angle of the planes on the face. For example, this kind of points down, this kind of points up, this kind of points out, and so you have all these planes. And when you understand the planes, and then we add a light source. For example, we say, okay, the light source is here, top left. Where will the light hit? We can then see that it may not hit this plane here of the nose, so that would be in shadow, right? It may not hit some of this plane or some of this plane, but it hits this section here. And we start to get that 3D form coming through. If there was a plane here, probably wouldn't hit there. It might hit a little bit there, some here, but maybe not this section either. And so we start to build form out of the understanding of the planes and the location of the light. That is the basics of planes. There will be more information in your assignments. I'll see you in the next lesson.